So research motivation is like your objectives here. So they have added the objectives here. What are the objectives? Revealing tendencies in the current trends, mentioning different problems which are not solved yet, providing an overview of the evolution of cloud. So you have to tell honestly to the readers that why you are taking this um, topic and what you are trying to solve here. If you notice, these are not referenced or cited. The reason is this is your own set of points that you have to mention. So never cite objectives. Objectives are always unique and new. Otherwise, then everything is cited on the paper. What does the paper actually contribute to? Doesn't make sense, right? So हमेशा ये ध्यान रखना है कि citations जो है तुम्हारे contents और जो भी knowledge research papers में है उसके लिए है, not your research question, not your research objectives. Okay, the reason why I'm pointing out these students, you might feel that अरे सर ये सब क्यों बोल रहे? I understand that, but there are some students out there who actually make mistakes like these, and I have come across many students doing the same mistake. They will put a research objective and then they will add citations with that objective. Why are you adding someone else's objectives? Okay, उसने वो ऑब्जेक्टिव अपने रिसर्च पेपर में डिस्कस कर लिया है, जो भी ऑथर था वहां डिस्कस कर लिया, अभी तुम्हारा ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या है वो डिस्कस करो. ठीक है, तो उसके लिए कोई साइटेशंस नहीं होगा. यू हैव टू पुट ओरिजिनल सेट ऑफ ऑब्जेक्टिव्स. ठीक है, दैट्स द रीजन आई एम टेलिंग यू स्टूडेंट्स, एम एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव्स प्रॉपर्ली तैयार करो. टेक अनदर वीक, नो प्रॉब्लम, बट मेक श्योर योर एम एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव्स आर डन प्रॉपर्ली. देन रिसर्च क्वेश्चन का सेक्शन डाला है, देखो यहाँ पर. दिस ऑथर इज ट्राइंग टू क्वेश्चन हिमसेल्फ, okay, saying that okay, we have conducted several research analysis, and then we came out with these questions. What are the most addressed cloud interoperability environments? Okay, why they are more popular than others? These are some questions they are asking. Why people like AWS cloud, not Google cloud? Why they are popular than that? Or what are the most proposed solutions for any cloud actor like a client or provider? Okay, how this interoperability domain developed over time. So like Devanshu's topic, AI regulations in government sectors or in educational sectors, let's say for example. So then you will start asking questions to your topic. You start asking, why have you chosen this topic? So you will ask questions that what are the different AI regulations which were developed over time? Okay, how is today's AI regulations better than the ones which were there before? Okay, these kinds of, what are the different solutions that in the newer AI regulations were put up and how they are better from the old ones? So these things you can add as a research questions. So if you are adding 4 research questions, then you have to make an effort to solve all those 4 research questions. ठीक है. Okay, methodology क्या किया है? Methodology is like articles they have selected and they have referred, different research papers. That is their methodology. What criteria they were using when they were including those research papers. Then what are the data that they have analyzed? Okay, they have added the table also. So yeah, this is how you would add. If there is any figure, make sure you are adding the figure's name details down here properly, so that you can maintain a table of figures. टेबल ऑफ फिगर्स क्या होता है? डेजर्टेशन में हमेशा एक टेबल ऑफ फिगर्स आता है, रिसर्च पेपर में नहीं होता वो. रिसर्च पेपर में यू डोंट ऐड टेबल ऑफ फिगर्स. ये ध्यान रखना है स्टूडेंट, कंफ्यूज नहीं होना है. रिसर्च पेपर का फॉर्मेट अलग होता है, डेजर्टेशन का अलग होता है. ओके, टेबल ऑफ फिगर्स जो है, इट्स मोर लाइक एन इंडेक्स दैट यू विल बी एडिंग इन फ्रंट of your dissertation, that is the first 2 pages. So in a manuscript you don't add index. Manuscript is like I said, it's a compressed form of your dissertation, but in your dissertation it's more like a project book where you will add an index, you will add a table of figures index, then you will add some more like acknowledgement and this and that extra things, certificates. Okay, any questions anybody has? Yeah, I'll just take questions. Do we have to write research aim, research objectives, as well as research questions in dissertation? Good question, Hetvi. Actually, you will need to have an aim, so that is confirmed. You need a research aim. You will need a research objective. Now, more or less, you can combine your research questions with objectives. So, let's say you mention a research objective as a chapter, a section, and then you will start writing some questions based on that. What objectives you will do to solve those questions? In that way, also you can write, or you can show separately. हाँ ठीक है वन लाइन ऑब्जेक्टिव्स भी अगर होगा यू शुड एक्चुअली हैव अराउंड अ सेट ऑफ थ्री ऑब्जेक्टिव्स दैट यू शुड डू but it also depends one line if you are specifying a one line objective what are you covering in that okay is it only one particular objective or does it include two or three objectives in one line so just try to optimize that okay
Sir, I have one
yes
question. Yeah, in keywords, like how many multiple we can choose in keywords? Like, is there any limitation to it?
in which case you said which
Keywords,
chapter
keywords.
keywords हाँ
Yeah.
keywords देखो if you are choosing keywords no like they have uh, explored multiple research papers so they came across these keywords which they are mainly focused keywords is more like what you want your readers to focus on
Like
like what
whatever
type
is present in the paper, right?
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
if you are talking about AI regulations on data
Mm.
protection, so you at least give those keywords which you want them to focus on. So this is helpful, for what? It's for searching your research paper more. Like how you see Instagram, they use keywords, right, for ads. Why these keywords have come into existence in social media is because of this. That makes easier for anyone to search that account. Okay, hashtags on these things. Same thing, but in research paper, it is done through traditional methods, which is added in the PDF. Now, when you visit any journal, okay, Hetvi, I'll come to your topic question. Okay, I'll just complete this keyword thing. So, like Om said, interesting question that keywords कैसे लिखना है ठीक है now where this keyword is useful. Okay, I hope you can see this website, which is a journal, okay, where you submit your manuscripts. So let's say I go on a particular issue, okay, issue is, no, these are special issues. Wait. Yeah, so I go on a particular volume, let's say April 2024, there will be some research papers out here. So as you can see, it will show you the details. Attitude of elementary school teachers towards action research. Now, what you see here is that these journals, what they do is they add keywords. You see here, Om, you are able to see?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, so now it becomes easier for any indexer. There is an indexer out there on the internet which indexes all the research articles and contents, notebooks, research books, reference books, all of it based on these keywords. So it becomes easier for these indexers to actually place them under these keywords. So anybody who types attitude research or maybe elementary school research or action research, explain me something about. So these things will pop up. These researches will show up on the indexers also, like Google index is there and you have Bing indexers. These are helpful when you try to make your research visible. So aim in that order that if you are specifying keywords, you would want people to come to your research papers by using those keywords. Okay.
Okay, okay, sir. Got it.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
it could be 5, 6, 8, 10, but not more than 15. It is advisable not to add more than 15. Otherwise, it
Yeah,
becomes
yeah,
more
yeah.
like a
Good
spam.
spam. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I got it.
Okay. So that's the reason we have keywords. So always you will see every paper has the author names. Make sure your author names are also properly spelled with the full name. Then you have the abstract which is shown. So abstract also acts like a keyword finder, so you should also have that right language used, which includes like a perfect summary of your research and the keywords that you will be adding. Now, there is something called as hard copy. So every journal also provides a hard copy of your research that you have done. It's more like वो जो भी issue है उसका एक book बनता है. There is like a booklet which is created of that particular issue. Issue is April 2024. So April 2024 में जितने भी research हुआ है और publish हुआ है उसका एक book बनता है जिसको बोलते हैं हम hard copy journal. Soft copy journal is uploaded online on this website, like you can see here. They give you us Google Scholar indexer. So if anybody visits Google Scholar to find this research paper, they will be able to get it. Okay, issue, pages, volume, all of that is mentioned here, and who has done that. Then Scribd, another indexer like which also stores knowledge. ठीक है, स्क्रिबिट भी जो है वो भी रखता है. Then the DOI is important because this is like a standard given to recognize which research has been done in which volume, and it's more like a standard organization number that they give, okay, for any research that is done.
Yes, I got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So DOI का full form जो है ना, it's digital object identifier. Okay, digital object identifier, that's a full form. Yeah, you can also upload video explanation of your research if there is something that you want to discuss in terms of working of some system or some kind of mechanism that you want to. This is more needed when it's like an engineering research that you have done. If you have worked on a new motor system or maybe a hydraulic system, you want to explain it in a video. It's for mostly used by engineers. But yeah, if you are a researcher who has worked on a concept or an algorithm where you want to present a PPT, you can always upload a video explanation also. These video explanation are also displayed on YouTube. Now, this is one digital library. There are multiple like these. They have different set of requirements. So if I say I want to know the requirements of this website, once you go ahead with a complete, yeah. So impact factor, this actually specify how known or how powerful this journal is with regards to impact factor. So a journal which is above 5 impact factor is considered good. Okay, which are their indexing partners, that is also given here. Okay, these are the paper details that where you can add. There is something called as their format. I need to see where that exactly is. Yeah, author guidelines. You go in author guidelines, and this is the format that they want their paper to be in. It should be an original research, survey, review articles providing a comprehensive review on a scientific topic, fast communication, short, self-contained articles, ongoing research. There should be technical notes. Yes, and then this is the important thing. That is the template. Okay, if you open up the template, this will actually show you how you should write your introduction and things like that. Okay. Yeah, coming to Hetvi's question, I have all objectives combined in one line. So, Hetvi, I'll need to see your objectives first, if they are achievable, and I feel they might be because you have written that objective in some sense. So, you will be covering those areas also. So, if you are able to put it in point format, it will be better. Okay, if it's possible, like try to change the language and make it into a point format, so it is more clear to show the readers that okay, these are the three set of objectives or two set of objectives. Even though if it is two objectives, that's fine, or one objective, but at least show it in a point format that you are going to cover it in this way. It becomes easier for readers also. Sure. Okay, literature review. always revolves around your research problem. If you have properly formed your research problem and you know what you're trying to do here, you have an objectives that you are trying to solve. So you will start finding research and materials based around those objectives. You will not go somewhere outside those objectives or outside your research framework. You'll be somewhere around it. So you will need to first create this kind of conceptual framework in your mind. Okay, then you will need to start to try to this relationship, create this relationship between them. If you have two or three set of questions in mind about your research, then you will try to find a relationship between them or different issues that you want to discuss. Then you will find out and compare what different authors are saying about that topic. So if you have a topic, now you have a set of research questions, you will try to see what other authors have done to solve that question. See, they might not exactly target your research questions, but they will be somewhere around it. So look for those papers and see what they are actually saying in that, and start reading their papers. Okay, once you read, you will you will identify that okay, there are some things that they talk about your research and you want them to be part of your paper also. So then you will be extracting those information, extracting those paragraphs, paraphrasing it, okay, writing in the way how you would want to show it to your readers. Okay, see, why it is called an original research is because it doesn't matter if you have any innovation done or if you have one innovation done or two innovation. It matters how you are presenting it and how you are giving an opinion to your research. So if you have okay identified two or three citations from other papers, you will now explain it in your own words or you will paraphrase it. Okay, so you will explain what the scholars are saying here. You will try to identify the issues and then you yourself will try to say the story. Okay, so you will integrate that literature so that it tells a story in its own right. This is a very important line here, students. Integrating that literature so it becomes a new story. Okay, now you see sometimes what happens if you watch a movie, like any movie in a Hollywood industry, you watch that movie, okay, you know what the story is about, and you kind of enjoy watching that movie. And you know, there is a Bollywood, okay, Bollywood sometimes what they do is they like to remake those same movies from Hollywood and convert it into a Bollywood movie. There are people out there who sometimes feel that अरे यार Bollywood movie ज़्यादा अच्छा था compared to the Hollywood one, or they might say vice versa, like Hollywood movie was better than the one which was made by Bollywood. So either ways, if there is some material or some script that was taken from Hollywood to Bollywood and then Bollywood made it more interesting, मिर्च मसाला लगा के और अच्छा बनाया, why they have done that? So that they can show it to their viewers, audiences. So the same way in a research paper you will be doing that, you will integrate all of these four, five literatures which you have extracted, and then you make your own story which talks about that. It should not totally change what they mean, huh? But you should create it in such a way that it talks for itself. Okay, it's like a new story or presented in much interesting way for the readers. Because here what you are trying to do is you are taking materials from other research papers, writing it as a story, and literature review actually helps a reader's time to be saved by reading all these 4 5 papers. So you have actually saved their time from reading 4 to 5 research papers, because your one paragraph of nicely written literature will actually save the readers 4 to 5 research papers to be read. And this audience could be a scientist, an engineer, researcher. Okay, so that's how research and knowledge develops. Okay, always you must think in a critic way. You should continuously critique these frameworks which were built by other researchers. Okay, it should be a positive critique. Okay, you should be a positive critic, not trying to critique in such a way that will jeopardize your own research. You don't want that to happen. So जो भी critique करोगे या if you try to counter question those frameworks, it should have a backing to it. Should have some proofs that you are trying to explain. Okay, so countering any research will require efforts because then you will need to find out data, you will need to find out researches which actually supports your counterintuitive. But if there is no countering and you're giving an opinion there, that's fine. Okay. You should also know what scholars have concluded. ऐसा नहीं हो कि आधा रिसर्च पेपर पढ़ा है और उससे तुमने कुछ कंक्लूजन निकाला है, ऐसा नहीं. You should read till the end. You should know what the conclusion is in that paper, so you will not, you know, uh, try to explain it in a wrong way. क्योंकि ऐसा होता है कि आधा पढ़ लोगे, you thought that research paper says something XYZ, and then you give a conclusion in your paper about that research. And what happens is that if someone else reads that research paper and reads the conclusion, it would not relate to what you have written in your paper. So that should not happen. It should be uh, after completely understanding the paper, then you have given this say on that literature. Okay, so ये है literature review का process. Okay. How can we make a literature review interesting or add more expressions to it? See, Hetvi, there are different tools which you can use. There are tools like Quillbot, okay, ChatGPT. If you select the right plugin for literature review, you will notice that you write your own version, okay, of that story, and then tell Quillbot or ChatGPT to improve it. It will help you to help them to, you will be able to make it better by changing the language, making it more interesting, okay, or you will be able to kind of link two researches together. I hope you are trying to understand here. What I'm trying to say is, अगर दो रिसर्च पेपर से दो पैराग्राफ तुमने एक्सट्रैक्ट किया है, so दोनों के बीच का रिलेशनशिप if you do it, then that will be interesting because the two different writers have never discussed it with each other. But now you, as a third researcher, you are trying to find out similarities between the two. So that is something you will be, rewarded for because that's a new original work that you have done. You tried to find out similarities between the two, or you identified some issues and then you gave a relationship between them. So ऐसा लिखा जाता है अपना literature review. If you want to make it more interesting and more expressive. But then if you feel that okay, this is fine and you want to go ahead with adding it, then you can paraphrase it with any paraphrasing tool out there. Okay, I hope that answers the question. Yes, Devash.
So instead of giving my own opinion on the literature, can I do this like I read the paper,
Hmm.
I create a set of like the opinions that the authors are giving,
Yes.
the things that they're saying, and ask that in a review like, do you agree with this? How much do ask people, do a survey and ask people like,
Hmm.
how much do you agree with this thing? Do you think this is a good, yeah, for
Huh.
example, like ऐसा कुछ
I
कर
get it.
सकते
What
हैं.
you're trying to say that you are taking research from other papers and then you will create questions based on that uh, content, right? And ask people about their opinions. So
Yes, yes.
in this case, Devashya, is it's because see when you are adding a literature review, that is your own study. There you are not involving any of your methodology like survey or asking questions. There you have to ask questions to the writers who you are referring to. देखो ये अगर डायग्राम देखोगे ना यहाँ पर which I have added is that you have to कंटिन्यूसली क्रिटिक द कंसेप्चुअल फ्रेमवर्क. मतलब उन्होंने जो भी डिस्कशन किया है अपने रिसर्च पे या तो उनको क्वेश्चन करो or else you write the question. Okay, you find out that okay, why this writer has written this thing in such a way. So you write a question there and then you try to give your opinion below it. There you will not take any other opinion. that you will do at the other later stage. See, the main idea behind literature review is to find gaps. गैप्स मिलने के बाद फिर तुम रिसर्च कर रहे हो ना वो गैप सॉल्व करने के, सो वो गैप्स पहले ढूंढना है लिटरेचर रिव्यू.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so for example, something which will come on top of my mind is, let's say one author was discussing about Amazon AWS cloud platform. Okay, that researcher talks about how well it performs, it has scalabilities and these things. And then there is another author which talks about specifically the scalability issue in Amazon's cloud platform and says Google's platform is better in solving that. Now there are two writers here, one discussing positive attitude of AWS, the other discussing an issue in AWS and comparing it with another platform. So you as another third researcher, you will try to find out similarities between the two different research. And then you could put your counter questions in it, that you can say, okay, Google has more defects compared to AWS in terms of solving so and so things. So then that's a new contribution which you have put in. So you will put your questions and write your opinions in that. Okay. Sometimes that literature review leads to your research saying that, okay, now these things are the gaps and I'm trying to solve this in my research ahead. So then in methodology, you will try to solve it. So that's why there is lots of patience, time that has to be spent when you're doing a research paper. The language should be correct. And when you're writing literature review, इतना समझना है कि जो भी स्टोरी लिखते हो दे शुड रिलेट विद ईच अदर. ऐसा नहीं फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ तुमने कुछ बारे में लिखे हो, देन सेकंड पैराग्राफ डजंट कंटिन्यू व्हाट यू रोट इन फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ, इट टॉक्स समथिंग डिफरेंट. That should not be there. It should be like a correct flow of discussion in one single go. Okay, it might be in different paragraphs, but they make sense. That's how the literature review should be written. So there will be multiple revisions in your literature review. ऐसा नहीं एक ही time में बन जाएगा. You have to do corrections, review them, see again, add some more content. This will keep happening. And I'll give some good amount of time to submit your literature review. Okay, once you submit the literature review, then you can move on to your methodology and other areas. So there will be separate submissions for different document. There will be a research proposal submission, then a literature review submission, then methodology, and then your final dissertation. Okay, Alok says a detailed study of AI-driven anonymization techniques for protecting personal data. In this, can we narrow down personal data to specific fields like healthcare or any other field? Excellent point here, Alok, that protecting personal data. Someone would ask a question, which personal data are you talking about? So that's correct that you mentioned. Can we narrow it down to maybe healthcare or maybe any biometrics or anything like that? Yes, you can narrow it down. In fact, you can even narrow it down in the anonymization technique. Which anonymization technique are you talking about? That could also be a question that can be asked. So if you are talking about multiple anonymization techniques and making a comparative study, then in that case it's fine. Otherwise, if you are talking about one or two anonymization techniques, so just mention it in your topic. ठीक है? So,
सर
हाँ, so थोड़ा दोनों चीज पे देखना. एक तो anonymization technique अगर कोई एक या दो specific कर रहे हो तो अच्छा रहेगा, because then your scope of research will shorten up. Otherwise it will be very huge because there might
सर
be
ये भी
multiple ways. हाँ, and then protecting personal data भी इसको भी narrow down कर सकते हो, healthcare industry को target कर सकते हो.
हाँ सर, on what are the challenges ये सब डिस्कस
What
कर
are
सकते हैं ना सर?
Yes, yes. That will be
Thank you,
part of your discussion. Yeah. Yes. Anybody has any other questions? Anyone who wants to discuss about their topic or anywhere they're finding some gaps or difficulty? And primary sources, when I say when you want to collect data from primary sources, they are information that author reports his own work directly in a form of research articles, books, monographs, dissertation, thesis. You can always refer your university for past students researches, what they have done. If there is any paper out there, you can download. You can visit site like what I showed here was the IJISRT site, IEEE website. These have research articles. Then there are reference books. You can always go back to the reference book which I have given on Classroom, which talks about data protection in depth. There are so many research papers in that, students. You can go and refer that also, which is purely on data protection and security. Then there are theses which you can refer from, research published by educational journals. Google Scholar is an excellent platform where you could search research papers. Okay. See, sometimes some website might not give you the research paper document to read because it would be paid, or maybe they would need an account to be registered. So there are sites which actually do that. There is one website which I am not able to recall. It's a Russian website which actually has this full directory of research papers where you could get that from. So I'll if I come to know, I'll let you know with on the Classroom. So I'm not getting that name. Something related to science. So once I get that, I'll let you know. From there also you can download research papers. Secondary sources are authors that compiles and summarizes the finding of the work done by others and gives interpretation of these findings. So this is like a secondary research where author compiles, summarizes the finding of the work done. See, work of compiling is also research. See, many people don't do this also. That you are an excellent compiler, like you would take 5 6 works and then you would create a new knowledge from those 5 6 works. That is also an excellent way of doing research. Okay, you are an expert in trying to find out relationship between these works, or trying to fusing them up and create a new knowledge out of it. So yeah, you can summarize everybody's work and give your opinions. That is also a research. It's like giving an interpretation of what people have worked on. That person or that author might not have given the right interpretation of their work, so you are trying to find those gaps and giving your interpretation. That is also research. Research doesn't mean always having that eureka new invention or new innovation. It is contributing to existing knowledge also. So how you can get them? You can get them from encyclopedia, education indexes, abstracts, bibliographs. Okay, you can refer bibliographs of other research papers. See, that will help you to go deep. Okay, if you have a research paper, you are referring it. Okay, you go down last page, you see bibliograph. You can go to those research papers what that author had referred. You will get more idea on that topic. So these are some main sources. You can also refer newspapers, magazines, electronic databases out there, books, journals, conference papers, thesis, encyclopedia. We have Wikipedia now, so nobody has an encyclopedia. If you have, then that's also good. Research reports. Okay. So these are sources from where literature can be searched. Now, if I ask what you would add in a literature review, so what are the questions you should ask to your own research that will create your literature review? So this is an important thing when it comes to literature review, is that how to ask questions to create your literature review. Now, first thing is you should always ask why is this research needed and why it is valuable in the area of your topic. So what you will simply do is, student, is write this question somewhere in a rough paper and try to write a paragraph on this. Like, you have your topic. Let's say, for example, Alok's topic is a detailed study of AI-driven anonymization technique for protecting personal data in the hygiene or healthcare industry. Now, what he will do is he will write a paragraph explaining why researching on this topic is needed. he will write a paragraph. Okay, from that now he got a framework. Okay, I'm going to research because of this reason. And then another question he will write. Under that answer you will specify what work has been done already. Is there any work done? Okay, so you will write a paragraph that okay, so and so website or so and so article discusses about this thing. So that will also be in your literature review. So in literature review you will never add the question. That is something should be in your mind. You will write the answers in the literature review. Okay, you're getting my point, students, here. So first paragraph, let's say you will ask the question in your mind, why this research is needed. You will write a paragraph that is your answer for it. Then in the second paragraph you will ask a question in your mind that why, what work has been done already. So then you will add those citations of different authors saying that they have done this. Okay, and then third paragraph you will write an answer to this question, that is what are the main findings that relate to or inform your own research. Then you'll write those findings. Then, like I said, to give similarities between the differences in relation to your research. So if three authors have discussed about that topic, how does it relate to your research or how it is different from your research? That you will specify. Also in a literature review, you give your limitations to your study, that okay, I am limited to so and so topics. I have not, you know, discussed about them, but I have covered so and so topics. So that is giving a limitation. So the reader knows that okay, you have um, discussed on three sets of problems, but you said that this would be done in future, maybe two. So other researchers after you would be able to find out those gaps. Okay, sometimes researchers put these gaps in their research purposely because for certain reason, like they didn't have time or they didn't have the resources. So you as another researcher should find those gaps and try to solve them. Then once you solve, you will also get some gaps. ओके, टेक्नोलॉजी ऐसी ही बढ़ती है ना स्टूडेंट्स, कि अगर एक जन ने कुछ सॉल्व किया, ओके, दूसरा आता है, ओके, निकोला टेस्ला क्रिएटेड द इलेक्ट्रिक मोटर, देन एडिसन developed the electric bulb, then after that another scientist came in, they developed the whole infrastructure of power grids, then another scientist came who developed computers which could be connected to the power grid. So these developments, why they happen? Because of gaps left by every researcher, every scientist behind. और हर कोई जो उसके बाद आता है ना, वो सॉल्व करता है वो गैप को. ठीक है. So these are the limitations of the study that you review. What are the limitations? What are the gaps that there are in those knowledge? Is your research filling any gap? That also you can find. Now, discussion and conclusions, which are also part of your dissertation, is where to what extent do your findings agree with, extent, conflict with existing knowledge in the literature. Okay, so like Alok asked a question. Okay, I'm not sure. I may be wrong. Alok asked the question or Devansha. I'm not. I don't remember. But yeah, a student asked me that can we add those opinions of people who they are asking the survey questions from. So this can be added in the discussion. If there are any questions that you asked in your survey which relates to the literature review, and that questions actually solved some part of the literature review, or maybe those findings agree or disagree to the literature review, that can be added in the discussion. Okay, so I think it's Devasha. I don't remember who asked me that question, but yes, that question was good. That should we add anything which relates to the literature review that has been done in the survey? Yes, you can add that in the discussion, but don't add them in the literature review. Does anything in the literature help to explain any of your findings? Okay, so that's also important to mention in the discussion, that while I was doing the literature review, I found out that this question was answered by so and so researcher. So that also can be added. And what gaps still remain? What new questions emerge from your work that needs to be addressed in the future research? Those points can be added in the discussions too. Literature review process is collecting articles, 5, 6 papers, collect them, read those literatures, summarize the state of research. Try to summarize what you read and identify gaps, relations, and variances. Variances is how different parameters are variable from each other, how they are different. Also, identify what gaps the researcher has left, and then suggest next steps. That is your opinions, your pointers that you want to discuss. Okay, so a detailed literature review process, I'll explain this in another session. Okay, it's like finding out the right sweet spot for what the literature is all about, how to choose the topic to write, and what things you have to focus on. So when it comes to literature review, how that topic is sufficient for your research. Okay, are there interesting things that you find out? Okay,
Hello, sir.
yes.
So in synopsis, like what we have to actually submit it, like uh, the yeah,
Synopsis, it's very basic way which I've given. It's
like
just your, yeah.
just the 4 3 lines will do, na?
No, no, I have given the topics. No, just give me a one or two liner on each. Like you should make, first of
Yeah,
all, you
yeah,
should
yeah,
have
yeah.
an aim and an
Yes.
objective. Okay,
Okay, okay,
aim and objective to चाहिए. उसके बाद then you discuss that, okay, what you're doing in your research, like a question, research question, and then you will give what sources are you referring. You will take surveys, you will refer some books and articles, and then if there is any reference you want to put, add a line that how much time it will take, like 2 months, 6 weeks, 3 months, whatever the timeline is. It should be around your semester, so just give an estimate of your timeline. That's fine. That's all you have to add in your
so we just
proposal.
have to do it by ourselves only, like, right? For in
Yeah,
synopsis.
yes. The
Okay,
synopsis you will be
okay,
doing yourself.
okay, okay,
It can be a 1 or 2 pager, that's fine. It's just a proposal to
okay,
at least let me know what you're doing. That's all.
okay, sir, got it,
It won't be submitted anywhere.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. If there is a requirement by university that they have to give their proposals also, then you can print them. But right now, you just upload it on Classroom.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Hetvi has asked a question, sir. What does discussion exactly mean in dissertation? Hetvi, discussion actually talks about what did you find out in your literature review? Okay, what did you find out in your literature review? Or if there were any similarities that you got and then you want to tell people that you got. Okay, so लिटरेचर रिव्यू में शायद तुमने कुछ ऐसा चीज फाइंड आउट किया है कि 3 4 रिसर्च पेपर्स में तुमको कुछ सिमिलैरिटीज मिला, बट नाउ यू वर नॉट एबल टू रिलेट इट विथ योर research paper in literature review, so you add that point in your discussion. Or if there is any conflicting ideas which you want to tell your readers, then you add it in your discussion. That is one thing you can do. Second, how it helped your research when you did the literature review. Yes, Hetvi, you have raised your hand.
No, but first you can complete, so then I'll.
या श्योर. सो पहला ये पॉइंट था. दूसरा ये है कि जो भी फाइंडिंग्स मिला है और एनीथिंग विच यू फाउंड आउट फ्रॉम योर लिटरेचर रिव्यू, दैट आल्सो यू कैन एक्सप्लेन. Now, why I'm focusing only literature review, because that's the first thing you would do in your methodology. You might do surveys, you might conduct analysis on data from the internet which you have captured. Those things also will be in your discussion. Okay, so sometimes some people, what they do is they separate interpretation and discussion. So interpretation might be only interpreting 1 or 2 graphs which have been added, so they will talk about that graph or that diagram. But in discussion they give their viewpoints about those diagram and how it relates to their literature review. So anything other than your specifics will be in your discussion. And if there is any gap that you have left, okay, you have studied so and so concepts and topics and you came out with this conclusion, you discussed it in the discussion, then you said that, okay, now these things would be done in future research. I have not covered them. Okay, these things have to be addressed. Okay, let's say if Alok has worked on the topic detailed AI driven, techniques, anonymization techniques. He discussed on two anonymization techniques. Okay, and what he found out was that two or three areas were not covered in that anonymization technique. Maybe data encryption had some weaknesses that he found out. So he can say that, okay, this could be done in future research. So someone after you or after Alok would refer that gap and then try to solve it. Okay, so that's how you would write your discussion. Yes, anything else, Hedwig?
Yeah, I mean, just to summarize it up, is a discussion, the connection or the comparison between our research, I mean, our research outcomes and literature review.
Yes, it's like a final part of your research, like what you would want to tell your readers about, or what you have analyzed. Sometimes interpretation is also added in your discussion. If you don't have lot of interpretation and you don't want to give a separate chapter or section like interpretation, you add that in the discussion. Okay, so you add your analysis or your interpretations, your findings in that. Okay, lots of significant things can also be added in those section also in discussion. Discussion is more like a broader term, huh? Hetvi, understand that it's a broader term to
Understand?
explain. Yeah. So sometimes discussion also includes its own introduction, its own paragraphs also, like how the research paper has an introduction and an intermediate paragraph. Discussion also has its own introduction paragraph and own conclusion. So if you have a large thing to discuss or maybe areas which you want to discuss, you can add that in your discussion section. Okay, so that is one way of doing it. Always make sure that if you are writing it in paragraph form, your first paragraph will have essential parts discussing the key findings. Maybe if you want to show the key findings about your research, you add that in discussion. A second paragraph which will highlight your strengths of your study, that your study had given these outcomes, so those are my strengths. But there are some limitations also to my study, that I used 100 people sample size other than 200 or something like that, which you want to tell your readers that, okay, I have restricted to so and so resources. Discuss any kind of unexpected finding. Maybe you were doing something through your research and you found out something else also that you want to tell. You have to be very frank in your research. There is no harm or there is no shame in telling something that you would think that, Arey, why I should put this in my paper. It's fine if you have done that. If you have used ChatGPT and you found out a new kind of explanation by that ChatGPT about that topic, you can add that. Okay, last paragraph you can summarize maybe the kind of research question you had asked and how it actually came to a conclusion that, okay, I got a positive hypothesis or negative hypothesis or anything which you want to say, like some unanswered questions which are there and you know that they are unanswered, so you can put that there also. And you can say it can be done in potential future research. So काफी चीजें हैं जो डिस्कशन में ऐड कर सकते हो. ठीक है.
Yes, sir. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Mostly people like adding unanswered parts in their discussion and conclusion. So conclusion also, if they can separate it into conclusion. So conclusion mein they can add that out of 5 questions which I was asking, 3 were answered, 2 are not answered. So they can be done potentially in future. So these things are also clearly mentioned in discussion and conclusions. Sometimes you might need to also add some recommendation. Okay, if you want people who is reading your paper and you want them to give a recommendation, maybe if you want to them to conduct the research in certain way, you can give recommendations there also. Okay, and why your results which you found out are valid with your research, that also can be added in that discussion. All right. So yeah, that was literature review versus discussion and conclusion. And there are some steps to how to write research, the literature review. So that we'll cover next time. Some definition components of literature review, how that is done, and then hopefully I can add some matter on methodology maybe next time or upcoming sessions. I'll try to give more like a generic way of doing methodology, but not specific to your topic. So since it's a lecture, so I won't be able to cover everybody's research paper, but I'll give a general idea of how this should be done. And if you have any questions in those areas also, you can always ask. Okay. So at least start working on your dissertation so that at least when the lecture happens, you know that, okay, you are on the same pace or somewhere around the same pace. So you can get things clear. So now we are on literature review. So as we are doing literature review, you should start at least working on literature review. Don't wait for me to give that timeline saying that you have to submit literature review. Start off with your work. If your topic is good, fine, there is no issue. Maybe today or tomorrow I'll give any comments that is needed in any proposal. Okay, if there's no comments, if things look fine, you can go ahead with the topic. Okay. Okay, great. Is there any questions anybody has?
Sir, we had two questions related to our project, our research.
Sure.
Yeah. So first one was, will you explain how to do citation in some in another lecture?
Yeah, I'll try to cover different areas of dissertation. So, if I come across citations, I'll explain how that's actually very easy to do. But for beginners, I understand that it is something confusing. कि अरे citations कैसे होगा and कैसे? It's very simple. It's more like crediting someone about their work. Okay, you add something from a paper, you paraphrase it, okay, and then you put those numberings there which will say that okay, this has come from so and so paper. So anybody who clicks on that number, they would redirect to that link down, and they can see this is done by XYZ author in the year so and so. Or sometimes what do authors do is that they don't give these links like numberings, they write it beside the text. Like for example, Mehdi is an author, myself, okay, suppose, and I wrote a research paper on anonymization techniques of AI, let's say. I wrote that research paper, and Hetvi is writing another research paper which also talks around a similar topic on anonymization in AI. So she liked one paragraph from my paper. So what Hetvi would do would simply extract that content and paraphrase it. You know what's paraphrasing? Writing it in a different way in your own language, but which should mean the same. So you will paraphrase it. After paraphrasing, you will open up a bracket in the end, and you will mention um, my name, author's name, and the topic of my research paper and the year. Okay, how to write that I'll explain. Okay, but the way of doing it is this: like you refer it to that person who has contributed to that area. You can write it in a in a bracket, or you could give a numbering down there in the end in the footer, saying that this is from this research paper. Okay, there is a way of writing it. So literature review jab karenge na, lots of citations are there in that. So citations mostly literature review में ज़्यादा है, तो वो केस में I'll explain in the literature review session. Hope that answers the question, Hetvi.
Yes, sir. It answers my first question.
Yeah,
My
great.
second
Second.
My second question is, should we include only our nation or all the countries in our survey for analyzing the WhatsApp privacy updates?
Hetvi, here it comes your optimization of your aim. So now you realized as you read through different privacy policies, you felt that okay, now your research is getting very stretched. So you decide that okay, should I go ahead with a narrowed down research? So it's good that you have come across this. And generally students don't do this because they feel that okay, now I have got a very general topic, so I can get lots of content out there. But that's not the right way of doing it, because this will stretch your research and then it will not give any kind of original work. So since you have asked this question, that's good, because I appreciate that you have worked on it and read materials out there. So now you know, okay, I need to focus on, let's say, India and UK, for example, or maybe two or three countries or one or two countries you would want to do. That's good, fine. You mentioned that country's name also in the topic. Or you can do one thing is, don't change the topic, just give it in the aim. You can mention it in your aim that you have targeted which countries. Okay.
Will 2 or 3 countries be fine?
Totally fine. If you want two countries, you can go ahead with two countries. If you have the resources, you have the materials, resources, go ahead with two countries. Not a problem. As far as you're doing an original research, that what really matters.
Okay. I'll first try to discuss with them, because we were confused today whether we should go only with our nation or we should include many countries, at least 2 or 3, something like that.
If you are doing India also, no, Hetvi, that's totally fine. If you have the material, enough content, and it can be an elaborate study, you can go ahead with India also. It's totally fine. If you feel you want to do on another country other than India, like only USA or only UK, because USA has lots of issues with their privacy with compared to UK. UK is more stricter. So you can take UK for example. Any country you could go ahead, but mention it in your aim that people will know as a reader. Okay, Hetvi has focused on, or Hetvi and et al. Has focused on one country. Yeah,
All
and
right.
yeah, and interestingly, if you have not mentioned any other countries, no, so you can add them as a future study or a future work on so and so countries. That can also be done.
In discussion, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Got
yes,
fine.
yeah, sure. Yes, Ravinder. Huh. Mm-hmm. यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट क्लासरूम ना? हाँ, क्लासरूम पे पीडीएफ जो है ना, तीनों अपलोड कर दो. यस, तीनों जो है अपलोड करो, सेम पीडीएफ चलेगा. ओनली आई विल कम टू नो दैट यू आर पार्ट ऑफ दैट ग्रुप. सो ऐसा नहीं हो कि there are other users or student who has not uploaded, then it will show a flag there. So I want that you upload, all three can upload the same pdf. ठीक है? Are you saying that all three are working separately with their own timelines? ऐसा तो नहीं है ना, because you all are working as a group, so it should be one date if everybody. हाँ, आगे हाँ, आगे पीछे होगा डेट्स का, ठीक है, चलेगा, that's fine. हाँ, हाँ, ऐसा होना चाहिए कि all should be in track कि what's going on. I'll suggest you all to open up a Google Doc file, add them as a user online. So you create one folder, which is your research folder. In that folder, would make a Google Doc with your title and everything, and share it to all the three users. So everybody can see what's going on the paper in the dissertation. So आज suppose रविंदर ने इंडेक्स बनाया, इंडेक्स में सारे टॉपिक्स डाला. हु इज अनदर स्टूडेंट इन योर ग्रुप? रविंदर, दूसरा कोई स्टूडेंट का नाम बताओ. अच्छा, हेतवी है. ओके, कूल कूल, फाइन. सो हेतवी, हाँ, हेतवी एंड खुशबू. सो हेतवी, हेतवी, yes, yes, I'm saying yeah, yeah, I'm able to hear. Hetvi and Khushbu is there. So Hetvi is working on maybe literature review. Okay, Khushbu is working on methodology or aim and objectives. In this way, at least everybody will be on the same page. So Ravinder can see what Hetvi is doing. Hetvi can see what Khushbu and Ravinder is doing, all on that same document. You get this kind of history on the right hand side. For example, Hetvi or Ravinder thought that okay, this line should, yes. Yeah, Ravinder, you wanted to say something? हाँ, ग्रेट ग्रेट। सो गूगल डॉक्स पे परफेक्ट परफेक्ट ग्रेट। सो यू ऑल आर फेमिलियर विद इट, आई डोंट नीड टू एक्सप्लेन देम, इट्स गुड। सो उसमें कोई भी स्ट्राइक ऑफ करना है, किसी को कोई पॉइंट नहीं पसंद आया, यू वांट टू मेक चेंजेस, यू कैन ऑल डू इट देयर इफ देयर इज एनी कमेंट someone wants to do. Okay, so anybody else who has any other question? Great. All right, then I guess that's pretty much it for today. Still, you have any questions, you can always email me. Please put up your attendance on the chat box. Put a present there so I can record them. Okay. All right. Alok is present. Khushbu Sheikh is present. Om Mishra is present. Yamini Suryakant is present. Devashya is present. Hetvi is present. Pooja is present. Shailesh is present. Akshata, Mahendra is present. Sanket, Anila is present. Harsh is present.